You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show, the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. I don't think we have any new callers. I forgot to check. Nope, new callers. But we've got Kyle from Madison.
Ryan, what's up, Kyle from Madison? Victory Monday. Can't believe we're playing again already on Thursday. And what a great freaking game yesterday. I mean, there was some frustrations in spurts, but 38-10. I don't know what else I can say. I'm about to dial up your podcast about the game, so I'm interested in your thoughts. But I just want to call in and say, hey, we got we're 8-3, man. Look. Yesterday, it's kind of an interesting feeling coming away from this game because blowing the doors off the 49ers at home feels great. I am frustrated, though. I mean, at some point, we got to talk about all these drops. I know Love looked like he had one there that probably should have been a pick, but otherwise, I thought he played pretty well. But it's getting to the point, man, where it just frustrates me so deeply to watch that game and to think, I just watched what should have been probably a 4-touchdown, 1-interception game by Jordan Love, and it ends up being 2 touchdowns. I mean, even if the Dobbs won, all right, let's say that's whatever, 50-50. Man, he couldn't have placed that ball for Watson any better if he was standing there. You know what I mean? So it's like minimum you're looking at, he's got like 215, 220 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Probably should have been 4 touchdowns, maybe a pick, but like, it's just frustrating, man, because like, I don't know, the numbers just aren't there for Love as much this year, but I think his receivers have really let him down in large stretches this season. So I love the effort yesterday. I love the physicality. And certainly the team is getting better. It hasn't arrived yet, but like I said last week, if this team just keeps getting a little bit better each time, and certainly the penalties were better. There was a lot of things that were better, actually. They weren't like a new team. This looked like some iterations we've seen this year, but I do think they made some improvements. They did clean up some things. I thought the O-line played really quite well. Hey, is Sean Ryan a thing? Is this a thing? Like, I gave this guy no chance in hell of becoming like a dude. And just eyeball test yesterday, he looked kind of like a dude. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. I haven't even been paying attention like his PFF grades this year, so maybe I'm off. But like, it was kind of the first time where I sat there and went, wait a second, like, did they have a guy in Sean Ryan? That would be great. I will be shocked in a good way. But anyway, great game. On to the Dolphins now. Go Pack, go.
Yeah, so I mean, you said you haven't listened to my thoughts yet, so I'm sure at this point you're fully aware of my thoughts on both of those things with Jordan Love and Sean Ryan. I noticed there's a big narrative floating around about Sean Ryan this week. I find it very odd. I think it's very similar to what happens a lot of times especially when a lot of people are highlighting run game highlights or whatever. There's one person or two people that go out and find some really good plays from Sean Ryan and then start pumping up Sean Ryan, and then everybody sees it, and then everybody starts talking about how great Sean Ryan is. I don't know exactly where you got it from, but bottom line is this was his worst game of the season. Similarly, this might have been Jordan Love's worst game of the season. So the two guys you highlighted really, really struggled. The drops are an issue for Jordan Love, but I don't want to pretend he would have been great without it. He threw the ball 23 times and there was 2 drops. Right after the Christian Watson drop were 2 bad passes. This was his lowest adjusted completion rate, which, remember, adjusted is more of an accuracy grade. We can try to find some better stats. I know PFR has some stuff on accuracy. I don't know the accuracy of their accuracy metrics, but I know they try to track that. But at least from an adjusted completion percentage standpoint, this was his least accurate game, just 68.2%. That, of course, does not include the drops. And there also were 2 turnover-worthy plays, not just the one. I don't even remember what the other one was, but according to PFF, he had 2, which for him is relatively high. He does have 2 other games with 2 and 1 game with 3. Otherwise, it's 1s and 0s, mostly 1s. But it was his highest turnover-worthy play percentage. 7.1% of his passes were nearly intercepted. That was the highest of the entire season. So, no, I don't think he played well at all. I think the fact that there wasn't some glaring pick or pick 6 or whatever made it seem like, okay, it wasn't a catastrophic game, but from the standpoint of standing in the pocket and just doing basic things, again, you could argue this was lowest PFF grade, second lowest PFF grade, second lowest passing grade, highest turnover-worthy play rate, lowest adjusted completion rate. I'm not trying to sit here and harp on it. I'm giving you my thoughts based on it. It just was not a good performance. Not terrible. It was manageable, but that's it. I mean, he looked more or less like a game manager. It was, we're going to run the ball. We're going to try to scheme you up some easy passes. Otherwise, please just don't give the game away. And despite him trying a couple times, he didn't give the game away, and we got through it. So I would love it for Jordan Love to be more than a game manager, but so far this season, that's kind of what he's been. So it is what it is. I mean, again, I'm not going to sit here and pretend and argue and defend and everything. He's got to do it. He's got to show it. He's got to be that. Otherwise, I'm going to sit here and call him a game manager. At best. And I look forward for my jinx to come through and for him to tear it up. But I've been talking about him for a while now, and that jinx has not quite cracked through. So maybe I just got to hammer it a little bit harder. I was mentioning the other day, maybe what I need to do is start looking at other quarterbacks in the draft. Not because that makes any sense, really, but just for the sake of really trying to ramp up this jinx. Because that's about the time he turned it over last year. Our record was terrible. Jordan Love was looking terrible. And I said, well, we got a high pick. We should start looking at quarterbacks. And it was pretty much right after that Jordan Love took off. So I don't know, man. We'll watch this Miami game. If Jordan Love doesn't turn the corner, we're going to spend an entire week just looking at new quarterback options so that hopefully when we play the Lions, he'll pop off. I'm not being serious, but it's a thought. Got to do whatever you got to do, man. Got to do what you got to do.
Hey, I was just going to say, this is just a request to Packers fans everywhere. Let's not jinx the Niners. How do I want to say this? I don't want to put a jinx out there about how the Niners are done until they're mathematically eliminated.
Sure.
Because I don't trust the NFC West. I don't.
Right.
And, it's great. I think we've beat, 3 of the 4 teams now with Seattle to go. But the problem is, like, these tiebreakers, it helps us for our record, but the tiebreakers won't matter because the only team coming out of the NFC West is going to be the division champ. So, I don't know. Let's not write too many checks yet. Let's just let the Niners die quietly in the corner. And then once they're mathematically out, we can dance on their graves with glee. But like I said, I don't trust the NFC West, and I don't want to see some 9-8 Niners team eke out the division win and then host a freaking home game. I can just see it. They're only a game and a half out of first right now. I know they got the Bills and the Lions to go, but I don't know. They've just been too good for too long. There's going to be a lot of people just talking about how they're old and slow and hurt, and a lot of that might be true. The window closing, all that stuff. Great. I'm here for it. I just don't want to jinx it. So let's just not talk about it.
You're right.
Just like Watson's drops, right? We're going to not talk about it to the week leading up to one of his biggest drops in 2 years. I'm too superstitious. So let's just leave the Niners alone and hopefully they just go and die quietly and become irrelevant. But maintain their coach's employment for like 20 years so the Bears can't hire them. Okay, thanks.
No, I agree. And that's part of what I had mentioned about, their odds drop below 20%, but that also kind of depends on everything else, right? There are other things at play here. And part of that is that they're in a really weak division. I mean, they're in kind of the opposite situation that we're in. where we're playing really well and it doesn't matter. We're probably going to end up third. The 49ers are playing like garbage. They could still win the division. Now, the good news is, according to the New York Times playoff predictor, they have the 49ers fourth place with a 7% chance. So things are going in a very positive direction for us. They've got a little simulator thing here. Even if they beat the Bills, the Bears, and the Rams, they've got it going up to 27%. And if they beat the Dolphins after that, they've got it at about 47%. So if they win the next 4 in a row, they're up to 50-50. And then they got to play the Lions. If they lose to the Bills, let's say they lose to the Bills, they beat the Cardinals, Dolphins, Rams, Bears, and then let's say they beat the Lions, then they're up to really high. But they've got to basically run the table, including beat at least one of these two really scary teams in the Bills and the Lions. But you're right. If they could get a lot of their players back, beat the Bills, and then all of us would be sitting here going, oh, crap. Oh, crap. They might do it. By the way, they have the Packers right now at 95%. So feels good, man. Feels good. In fact, they have it that even if we lose to the Dolphins and Lions, we're at 88%. So, if we, let's just see here. If we lose to the Dolphins, lose to the Lions, lose to the Seahawks, beat the Saints, lose to the Vikings, and beat the Bears, 81% we're making the playoffs with that run. Because, again, the really interesting thing here is the really good teams don't matter. It's such an unusual situation where usually the Dolphins and Vikings are the biggest, or the Lions and Vikings are the biggest thing we got to worry about. It's not. I keep saying the Dolphins because they're at the top of this freaking list. The Lions are irrelevant right now to our playoff aspirations, aside from if they beat us, our record gets worse. They're irrelevant. The Vikings, to some degree, are also kind of irrelevant. The question is, what are the odds that somebody else who's not in the wild card hunt is going to be able to make that jump to pass us? That's the question. And right now, there's not a lot of big contenders for that. So it's a very interesting situation. And again, it's because you've got a 10-1 Lions, a 9-2 Vikings, and an 8-3 Packers. It creates a very unusual environment to where you're normally at this time you're thinking, man, if we lose to the Lions or the Vikings, we're screwed. Not really. Doesn't hurt us all that much. I mean, it doesn't help. It certainly isn't good. But we could concede that Vikings and Lions, Lions are going to win the division. Vikings are going to get a wild card spot because that's like basically 100%. So we're not competing with them at all. We're just trying to get one of the other two spots. And the odds of us getting one of the other two spots right now is 95%. Really weird. Anyways, Goose, what the heck you got going on, Mike?
Hey, Ryan. Goose here. Just calling in after that phenomenal shellacking of the Niners. That's all good. I don't care who they have injured. That is the right way to do it. Just keep stomping on their throats. Make them feel the pain that we felt so many times. Especially last year when I felt like so much of that game, the Packers lost it more than the Niners won it. And the refs didn't help us. Not that they're there to help us, but they screwed us over on a couple bad calls. It just was like finally getting to let loose on something that's been irritating me for a long time. That said, I don't want to be Mr. Negative, but I'm getting to the point where I'm genuinely concerned about Jordan Love. He is erratic. He is inconsistent. We know when he gets hot, he can be the best quarterback in football, but this year it's been all cold, and it's getting frustrating. It's like you're dating a girl, and you think this is getting serious, and you're putting in all the effort, but it feels like, you're putting in all this effort, and you see this going somewhere. She's just kind of there type of thing where you can kind of see maybe this relationship's not going in the right direction. I'm wondering if things aren't going the right direction with Love, if we start to see concern from the front office maybe. If things don't start improving, do we start looking at quarterbacks in the draft? Someone to sit for a year or two while Jordan Love's on contract and get them prepped to have someone else? I'm not sure. I really want Love to play to his potential because it's so good. We know how good he can be, but man, this year has been brutal. Absolutely brutal. Though I will say, in his defense, maybe if all the drops didn't happen, we would be feeling a very different way. The drops this year have also been brutal. I don't know how the Packers can remedy that, but LaFleur and Gutekunst and everyone needs to sit down and really look at this and figure out how we're going forward. Because it's getting so frustrating to watch. It's like a misfiring engine. This offense could be so much better than it is already. And it's just 3-minute monster.
Did you call back? Doesn't look like it. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I don't, I'm not to the point of taking it there where we got to start looking at other options. But every week it's just I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for that Jordan that we saw last year. I'm waiting. And the season's getting close to over, and I have not seen it yet one time, not once. Right now, PFF has him ranked 22nd. We're laughing at Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is ranked 17th. Russell Wilson is 18th. Daniel Jones, by the way, is 23rd. He's one spot behind Jordan Love. Daniel Jones, he just got kicked off his own team. So 72.4 grade maybe doesn't sound the worst, but for context, it's not good. Justin Fields has a 71. Drake May, 71.3. Daniel Jones, 72. Jordan Love, 72.4. Bo Nix, 72.8. CJ Stroud, 74.3. Again, Russell Wilson is 18th. Rodgers is 17th. Kirk Cousins is 15th. Trevor Lawrence is 14th. You got Kyler is 13th. Geno is 12th. Baker is 10th with Brock Purdy. Sam Darnold is 9th. Jameis Winston is 8th. I mean, what do you want me to say? No, he's great. I mean, he's not. It's not good. He's mediocre at best this entire season. And again, he hasn't had he's had one terribly graded game, and he's had some seriously devastating decisions that he's made. When has he ever just completely dominated a game this year? Not one time. And we've used all the excuses. Well, week one, it was a sloppy game. And well, he was injured. And then he came back. And well, he was still injured. And for however many weeks, we kept making excuses. Well, I can tell he's still injured. Well, he still looks injured. He's injured. Was he injured this last game? Because that was like his worst game. Second worst game. I don't think he was injured. It's whatever. I don't know, man. I was hoping he was going to be that dude. He hasn't shown that he can be that guy. I don't know what the problem is. And again, as far as the drops, I mean, his grade would have nothing to do with drops. PFF is not going to negatively grade him for drops. So, I mean, he gets graded on so like that Christian Watson thing, I don't think the result of that would have anything to do with his grade because he's graded on the accuracy of the throw. So he got graded really well on that Christian Watson thing, and whether Christian Watson catches it and runs it in for a touchdown has no impact on Jordan Love and his grade. So, I mean, I'm not to the point of saying this guy sucks, we got to get rid of him, but it would just be nice if he was somebody that I really felt tilted the field. And so far, I really feel like he's a game manager that is a liability at times. You say, well, what about this throw? Bro, everybody has, I mean, I feel like I'm talking to Justin Fields fans now. Everybody has some nice throws. Oh, look how he sidearmed that throw to Tucker Kraft. What one quarterback in the NFL can't throw a sidearm pass 2 yards down the field? Shut up with that nonsense. I'm not asking for that. I'm asking for a guy that when we throw the ball, he carves up defenses. And he does it by finding exactly the right guy at the right time, throwing pinpoint accurate passes. That's what we need from Jordan, and we have not gotten that all year. But I'm sure it'll happen. We'll get there. I don't know. What do you want me to do? All I can do is sit here and wait and see what happens. Anyways, why don't we take a break? We'll come back and hear from Garrett in Southern Illinois.
Hey, Ryan, it's Garrett from Southern Illinois.
What's up?
I decided to let you off the hook.
All
You
right.
can go ahead and talk about the positive stuff for the rest of the weekend heading
thank you.
into against Miami on Thursday, because I'm in a thankful mood. So I'm thankful for Josh Jacobs. I'm thankful for Xavier McKinney. I'm especially thankful for Tucker Kraft. I'd like 2 helpings of Tucker Kraft, please, for dinner. Some of these guys are really there when you need them, and this was a game where it couldn't afford to let San Francisco hang around, and they definitely were able to put them away, which they should have. I will give it to San Francisco for still fighting a little bit and not giving up, but it was a relief to see the defense come through with some special forced turnovers. So that was good to see. Coming up on Thursday, just hoping and praying the weather is so bad that the fish freeze before they ever get a chance to get going. So let's hope that Green Bay comes out firing, and hopefully Miami can just go back to Miami. And don't forget, we're playing against our former defensive coordinator, Barry.
It's true.
So let's just make sure our defense shows him what a real defense is like. So let's not play soft, not play off the receivers. Let's stick them, and let's blitz Tua all the way back to Miami, because we cannot afford to have him sitting back there picking us off. So said what I said. It's a week of thankfulness. So thankful for your podcast, Ryan. Thank you for doing what you do. I'm out.
Yeah, sounds good. And that would be pretty embarrassing if their defense, I know he's not the defensive coordinator, but if their defense was able to really shut us down and then, our defense can't quite get the job done, that would not be the greatest. As far as strategy and whatnot, I don't really know as of right now. Like I said, I haven't dug into it yet. I'm going to record tomorrow's podcast after this. We'll kind of start digging a little bit. But right now, I just want to run the ball. I'm concerned about this Miami team. I see they're on a 3-game winning streak and have dominated the last 2 opponents. So they're obviously, they got Tua back. They're starting to catch some fire here. We got to tamp that down a little bit. So we got to look at his ability to play against the blitz. Like right now, Jordan Love is one of the worst quarterbacks against being blitzed. So Jordan is the kind of guy you want to blitz a lot. I don't know about Tua. I'm not sure exactly where he's at with that. But if that's a thing for him, pressure or blitzing or whatever, then I agree. Otherwise, I don't know. We gotta figure something else out. All right, fine. I'll look it up right now. Well, the good news right out of the gate here is that despite the resurgence, Tua doesn't seem to be a major part of it. Looks like he came back week 8. He's had 1 good game. He's just been hovering in the 60s the entire time since then. Let's take a look at him under pressure. Passing pressure. Doo-dee-doo. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah. So, first of all, blitzed and not blitzed is a separate category. When you don't blitz him, he's at a 74 grade, 70 passing grade. He's completed 74% of his passes for 1,500 yards, 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. When blitzed, 64 grade, 72%. He's down to 6 yards per attempt instead of 8. So that's one of the positives is this is a big offense as far as taking big chunks. Obviously, Tyreek and the whole thing. So you can cut 2 yards per attempt off of that when blitzing. Pressure, though, is an even bigger deal, which is going to be a big deal for the Packers. Blitzing is nice, but you got to get home. He has an almost 80 PFF grade when he is kept clean, 79 grade, 76 passing grade, 74% completion rate. His adjusted completion percentage is 82%, 1,400 yards, 7.4 yards per attempt, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. When under pressure, 68%, 70% adjusted completion rate, 8.8 yards per attempt, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception, but a 48 PFF grade, 45 passing grade. So, yeah, he struggles under pressure for sure. And most people do a little bit, but some guys, there's a big difference, and they really, really struggle. Tua, you could probably put in that category. So good to know. And yes, I agree. We got to get the pressure on the man. Oh, crap. He's been under pressure 20% of the time. That's a really, really low number. Crazy low number. Let me see how that compares to other guys. This is PFF. We could check something else too. But yeah, he is the lowest in the NFL pressure rate. Holy crap. So really not easy getting to the guy. And you can say it's because he scrambles. Well, no, because if the pressure initiates the scramble, then it counts as a pressure. We're not talking sacks. We're just talking about guys affecting the quarterback in the pocket. So I do know there was some talk about him getting the ball out of his hand really quickly. His time to throw is 3.39, which is terrible. But I suppose if you average it out, he might have some where he's dancing around a ton. But apparently they get the ball out of their hand pretty quickly over there, so that may have something to do with the low pressure rate. But that's crazy. So I would not expect to be able to get to him very, very often. It's just it's probably not going to be a thing.
Hey, Kyle from Madison.
Yo.
Quick 2 points. I just been watching some of the game back here, and just some extra stuff I kind of caught on rewatch.
Sure.
One, and it really can't be overemphasized, and I'm not trying to pile on Watson here, but just both in the live version and then on the rewatch, I got the same impression. Maybe you have a different one, but it really felt like once they missed Watson on that long, like 40-plus yard touchdown throw, that was like it just the offense really got impatient. The next like two, I got to keep watching. I think 2 or 3 possessions with mixed results, but it just felt like whether it was a LaFleur thing or a Love thing, that they were trying to get that completion back. You know, they were going for it the whole time for a while, and it just resulted in a lot of like, I don't know, just bad looking play and kind of going with what hadn't got you there. It just was noticeably different emotional state of the offense for a little while following that drop. So just an observation. The other one, can we just pretty much make it official? I mean, the Packers have overhauled the running back position now. That's not throwing shade on Jones. He's playing quite well in Minnesota, and I'll always argue he's a more explosive player. But, man, Dillon, I mean, love you, Dillon, nice guy, right? You can be the mayor of Door County and everything. I'm cool with that. But as far as being our backup running back, like, you can't be that. Sorry. Because,
oh, yeah, that's done.
Like, look at what this running back stable is able to do right now. And I feel like both of our backup running backs are better than Dillon. I feel very strongly about that. They've given us more than he has, and obviously Jacobs is like that workhorse back. So we must all pray for his health, because if he can get healthy and he can handle this kind of workload, oh my goodness, when the synergy between the running game and the passing game, if that gets cooking later in the year, that could be the path to supernova our way to what all of us hope are a really special season. So, you know, you can still see a way they get to the promised land. It's not all materialized yet, but at least like they're showing you there's a possibility, you know, if they can get all this together and get hot. So we will see. Thanks, buddy.
Well, I can definitely tell on the next 2 plays they were impatient, and by they, again, a lot of times the common thought is Matt LaFleur, right? He told Jordan he had to do that. I don't know. I think maybe they wanted to take a shot. Maybe they decided, by they, I mean the entire offense, including the coaching staff, decided let's take 3 shots in a row. I tend to think Jordan got a little impatient. I mean, there were other routes being run, and he wanted to take the shot, and again, underthrew the next 2. I don't know about the ensuing next few drives. I'm not really sure. But yeah, as far as the running backs go, I mean, we're pretty well settled. I mean, we've got a number one. That's a done deal. And again, he's on a 4-year contract. It's kind of a 1 year in terms of how quickly we can get out of it, 1 to 2, depending on how much pain you wanted to inflict on yourself. But the full terms are 4, and so we can at least keep them that long. And big fan of Emmanuel Wilson, doing a fantastic job. And then again, we got the rookie waiting in the wings. So I don't see what purpose A.J. Dillon could possibly bring to the team. Everything he does, everybody else does better. I mean, we wanted A.J. Dillon to be a power back, and we got more power from Aaron Jones, and now we have Josh Jacobs. There's no, I like Dillon. Seems like a good dude. I hope that he can find a good job somewhere and go get as much money as he can possibly get to provide for his family, and hopefully he comes back to Green Bay because he seems to like it out there in that area, and they can build a home there and a family there and live the rest of their lives out there or whatever. But as far as the plan as I see it for the Green Bay Packers, I don't really see the point of having Dillon on the roster. Really hate saying stuff like that, but I mean, it's you said it, and I was like, well, yeah, dude, we're it's not even debatable at this point.
Hey, Ryan, TJ from Alabama.
Hey.
Just calling in, checking in. Overall, obviously, very pleased with the game. Also, we still even with that blowout, winning by 28, in no way, shape, or form do I feel like that was hitting on all cylinders. I still think there's another gear or two that we have that we will need to find, once we get to the playoffs. And obviously don't want to count the playoff chickens just yet, but clearly heading in a positive direction and, feeling pretty good about it. Just need to take care of some business, and then we get into the playoffs, and then have to be having those other couple of gears to get where we need to get to. The defense, I don't know if you or any of the other guys feel the same way, but our defense this year, I kind of watch it, and sometimes I'm thinking, damn, we're just, they're just cutting through us and big chunk plays, and we can't stop the run, we can't stop the pass. And then at the end of the game, I look at the stats, and, we gave up 250 yards total and, 10 points.
I'm the same way.
Even, Chicago.
I feel so stupid all the time because it's like, guys, you couldn't stop anything, man. I was super pissed. And I know I wasn't alone. It obviously was happening during a brief window, but I went on social media and I was, for example, at one point, I was like, man, have they completed a single pass where we had a defender within 3 yards? And everybody just like, no, they didn't. It was unbelievable. They couldn't cover anything. I was furious. But yeah, you're right. And then I go back and I'm like, my first look is I'm doing the podcast and I'm talking. I'm like, yeah, it was pretty disappointing. And they couldn't stop the run. And anyways, they ran for 2 points. Oh, all right. Then you got to think, do I want to go back and delete the whole damn podcast and change what I'm saying? Or should we just ride with it and people just sit here and think you're an idiot? Let's just go with it and everybody can think I'm an idiot. But yeah, it is weird to see, look at the scoreboard, right? That happened with Joe Barry all the time too, where you're like, this defense freaking sucks. It's like they scored 17 points. That's pretty good. It's like, yeah, actually it is pretty good. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, in the other games, it's like, it doesn't seem like we're doing that well on defense, but at the end of it, it's like, damn, end result's pretty damn good. Jacobs, damn workhorse, love the man. Thank you, Josh, for choosing the Packers and coming here.
Yeah, dude.
Obviously, with as hard as you ran, I'm sure that there's going to be $150,000 of fines for necessary roughness on Josh Jacobs for the last game because he was beating on people. So I'm sure there'll be a bunch of fines for that. But, hey, more than happy about that. Miami game. I think Miami on Thursday night is a sneaky important game. Not so much because it makes a massive difference on playoff hopes, although obviously if we win, it really gets us super, super close to locking that up. But it feels like Miami, a good team, obviously they don't have a great record, but with Tua back, they're playing much better. A good team, coming to Lambeau, it's going to be cold, game we should win, and it's a game that historically we have one of those games every year, and it feels like this may be that game that we lay an egg because, we had just had a big win in San Francisco, yada, yada. So if we are maturing as a team, it seems like we should win this game. If we're not maturing as a team, then kind of falls in that same trap. Last thing is I think everybody's putting dirt on the 49ers. I don't think they're done. I'm kind of hoping they're not done because I want them all to come back and beat Detroit's ass in about 4 or 5 weeks.
That's true.
I think we could see Frisco again. We'll see. All right. Thanks, Ryan. Bye.
I actually thought about that. I mean, it's funny because I had mentioned before I'm going to be rooting for the Bears almost the rest of the season because they're playing all the people that, they're playing the Lions or playing the Vikings or they're playing teams that we need to lose. It's kind of the same for the 49ers. They need to go through and beat the crap out of teams that we need to lose. That includes, by the way, NFC West teams that are vying for potentially wild card spots. I mean, they're all pretty far behind, but they need to just start beating the crap out of each other and giving each other a bunch of L's. But yeah, I agree. And there was actually some talk about, there's some positive news about Brock Purdy and stuff. And I got happy about that. I don't want them in the playoffs. I don't. But I do want them healthy and I do want them strong enough and good enough to be able to beat the Lions, for example. I don't remember their full schedule, but yeah, I need them to start handing out some L's. So I am with you on that. As far as Miami, yeah, it's real. There's so many variables here. Again, these types of games are terrible to bet because crazy stuff happens. Divisional games, not that this is, but divisional games are those kind of games where crazy stuff can happen. Thursday games are super weird. I mean, it's such a short week and everything. These are the kinds of games where even if the Packers were as good as their record and Miami was as bad as their record, which neither of those things are true, this is one of those games you look at and go, Miami's got a shot just because it's freaking weird. So I'll just say, look, all bets are off, no matter what you think. And I do think Miami is a formidable opponent, unfortunately. But, go into it the same way you did with the 49ers. Playoff game, right? These are playoff times. And you're right, there is a question of resting on your laurels. You knew how important that 49ers game was, playoffs, plus getting them back until you threw everything you had at them. Now you're starting to feel yourself a little bit, and you think this warm weather team's coming into our house. They're all, Tua's not maybe playing the best or whatever the case may be. Plus, you got the look ahead to the Detroit Lions the next week. There's all kinds of reasons why they may not exactly have their foot as heavily on the pedal, and they need to not do that. And I know it's tough, man. I mean, we got a bunch of guys on veteran rest. It's going to be tough to get Josh Jacobs. The plan right now in my mind is smash Josh Jacobs into this team over and over again. This guy took a beating this past week, just a few days ago. And we're going to put him back out there and give him, another 25, 30 carries? I mean, that's asking a lot of the guy. And obviously we've got, Emmanuel Wilson and Brooks that can carry a little bit more of the load. Maybe we can give a little bit more to Wilson, add a couple more to Brooks to kind of take a little bit off. Get creative in the passing game where you got some of those that are basically run plays, throw screen to read or whatever the case may be, where we're kind of doing the same thing but getting these other guys involved, where it provides the same stress on the defense as a run play, while giving our running backs a rest. But yeah, it's gonna be a tough one, man, for sure. But I'm getting excited. We'll take our final break and we will get to Kyle from Madison.
Hey, what's up, Kyle from Madison? I need to vent a little bit. I spent the day, watching some shows, or at least going through my whatever DVR is called now. I still call it TiVo.
Bro.
I all damn taping thing.
That's so funny because, I mean, first of all, there's never been anything better than TiVo. TiVo was the greatest thing to ever exist. It was the OG. The sounds it made, the beep boop, like the little popping sounds or whatever that it made. Or how I can't do it. You know what I'm talking about, though. TiVo was the greatest thing that ever existed in all of human history. Then some other crap came along. It's not TiVo. It's not the TiVo remote. It's not the TiVo sounds. It doesn't have the TiVo menu. Get out of my face with this DVR bull crap. But yeah, me and my family, we always just called it TiVo. Everything was TiVo. I got it on TiVo. So that's freaking hilarious that you save that because I haven't heard anyone even reference TiVo in forever. So that's fantastic. Also, yeah, I also tape things. It's funny, you don't even really realize how many phrases we use that are based on old tech that people today don't even understand. Oh, that's good stuff.
So that's how I know I'm old, even though I'm only in my 40s, because I grew up, taping things.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm going through my TiVo, going through my DVR, watching just, the Packers snippets of different national shows and even on YouTube. And I'm getting super upset, though, and I don't know why, but I shouldn't let it make me this angry. But I'm hearing this narrative, and I just have to push back on it. I'm sorry. look, our quarterback, he played like fine to good yesterday, maybe like a 72 or something if I had to ballpark it on PFF. Like, he was fine to good, you know? Probably should, like I said, probably should have had 3 touchdowns, whatever. But I'm hearing today, like, yeah, Love should have had 3 picks. I've heard that said by many people. What? No, he should not have. He should not have had 3 picks. That is so ridiculous. First of all, like...
No, it's 2.
Yes, there was one he threw that was kind of 50-50, and it wasn't picked off. And as we've talked about, Love has been extremely unlucky all the way through this season. Where, what, I think you had said earlier in the week, 100% of his turnover-worthy throws have been picked off. Okay, so he finally gets, a 50-50 one that's not picked off. Okay, great. I'll give you that one. On another one, yeah, his receiver has to play a little bit of defense. I think that's pretty much every quarterback in the league, at least once in a game, seems like. And then I heard people saying, well, he got bailed out by a penalty. Otherwise, he would have had another one.
No.
What? That's just lazy and stupid.
No, that's dumb. That's not... That was a free play. He needed, so the other thing with that play, I'm sure this is what you're going to say. Usually you're trying to find some kind of an opportunity. The bottom line is, though, he was running nearly out of bounds. He was running out of real estate. And I remember thinking, like, bro, just throw it anywhere. I literally was saying that. Throw it anywhere in the end zone. I don't care where it goes. Because if you throw this away or run out of bounds, I'm going to strangle you. You have to just give even if you have a 2% chance of some crazy thing happening and your guy catches it, you got to throw it. So that's what he did. He threw it and it went to a defender and it got picked. That is not against Jordan.
No, he didn't get bailed out by penalty. He literally got the Niners to have 12 guys in the field and he snapped the ball.
Right.
And there was nothing open, so he just chucked it up to see what happens because he knew it was a free play. Now, it turns out they also didn't quite get set, so it was offsetting. But this narrative that it was like, oh, he got lucky, he got bailed out with a freaking penalty, like, it's just so lazy. No, that's not what happened, y'all. It's not what happened. He knew what he had there. Now, I don't know if PFF counts that because of the penalty as a turnover-worthy throw or whatever, but anybody that watched the game knows that, like, no, that's not what happened there. At any rate, I have to remind myself, too, this is basically the second game we've seen Love in all season where he's healthy, with the exception of the Philly game until the last play. You know what I mean? So, like, that's something we really do need to think about, though. One other thing, though.
Well, before we get too far, first of all, as I said, you're right about the penalty thing. That's a stupid thing to say that should have been a pick. That's nonsense. Beyond that, though, I mean, I don't know that I necessarily disagree because you're saying, like, he's been, like, okay to good or what. Yeah, I mean, he has. The problem is there's 20 other guys that are playing okay to good that are slightly better, It's just, and again, if that's all he is and that's all we're asking for, fine. But it's not really a defense of Jordan, I wouldn't say, to say, well, he's not like bottom 5. Okay. It's not the criteria or the standard I'm necessarily going for here, especially since he showed like top 2 potential. Him being 22nd and saying, well, it could be worse, yeah, I mean, okay, he was fine. Yeah, he's been more or less fine all season, and to me, that's the problem, not really the defense. And as far as like, well, this is his second game back healthy. I don't know how many games he's been healthy in, but he hasn't been good in any of them, and that's kind of the problem. So, I mean, we'll see. Maybe the injury thing really did derail him. I've been significantly less forgiving than you have with the whole injury thing. I know you've kind of brought it up. I don't think he's really had very many injury problems. I think, he's had very minor things that have cropped up. I think for the most part, he doesn't look injured at all. I think he's playing perfectly fine. I think a lot of his mistakes have nothing to do with an injury. He's just not playing well. And I think the evidence of that is the fact that as he gets healthier and as there are zero signs of any injury, he's not playing any differently than he was before. But if you're right, and it was, week 1, well, that was a slop fest, and then he got hurt, and then he came back and he was playing hurt, and, now he's healthy, but it's going to take him like 2, 3, 4 games to ramp up. I mean, that freaking sucks because we're only talking about like 3 games where he's going to play well, plus the playoffs, presumably, but I mean, if that's what it takes, then fine. I'm completely fine with that. Again, I'm not ruling out that he can start playing well again because, number one, we've seen him play at an elite level, and number 2, last year it took him forever to get to that point. So I certainly wouldn't count it out. I'm just annoyed and not super thrilled with how he's played this season. The other thing with Jordan is, if you look at the turnover-worthy plays, yes, the turnovers and the turnover-worthy plays are somewhat unfair to Jordan because the turnover, the amount of throws that he makes that coulda, woulda, shoulda been turnover, that ended up getting turnover, are really at a rate that is not in his interest. But he's still throwing way too many turnover-worthy plays. He's 9th in the NFL in throws that are turnover-worthy. 4%? Yeah, 4% of his throws. I mean, if you're going to be 20th in something, let's be 20th in this. Okay, let's see if we can get that down to like 2.5%. 4% is too high. So that would be my hope. As far as the drops being a huge issue, I mean, the drops, no question, are a huge issue, but it's a separate issue. It's on one hand, the receivers are doing a bad job, that's fine, but that doesn't completely take away from Jordan's culpability in this. He is 26th in adjusted completion percentage. So even if you get rid of the drops and throwaways and tipped balls and times he was hit as he threw and whatever else goes into that metric, if you throw all that away, he ranks 26th. So, again, you're right, he hasn't been terrible. And he didn't almost throw 3 picks. I remember one, although those 2 passes after the drop by Christian Watson, at least one of those certainly could have been picked. They were both underthrown balls. I don't know if either of those 2 were the ones that they're looking at. I have no idea what that went into that decision to say that he threw 2. But I don't know. I mean, I know you are on the Jordan defender group of people. I guess I would just say that I don't know that you and I necessarily disagree. We just disagree on the standard right now. If you're okay with this level of play, then I don't disagree with your assessment. And you shouldn't disagree with mine because it's just a question of what I'm expecting. And if you think I'm expecting too much, then that's a separate issue, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not overjoyed. Again, the best thing, and I know it's like a super insulting thing to say to a quarterback, but it's the most honest way I can put it. I think of him right now as a game manager. I think he distributes the ball mostly in a good way. If he can just protect the ball better, then he would just get to official like game manager status. The way you elevate above that is you start doing things that other guys can't do. You start making those crazy throws that we saw him do a bunch last year. You start seeing him, as with pressure in his face, you know what I mean? Like all those kinds of things. If you're not doing any of that and you're just kind of throwing to the open guy some of the time with some accuracy plus some picks, the best thing I can say is game manager, and that might be a little generous.
Definitely, I would have to guess that the Miami Dolphins' focus coming into this next game is going to be Jacobs. So I do think there's going to be opportunities for Love because if I'm the Dolphins, I'm going to definitely try to take away the run game.
Right.
So I hope they do that, and I hope it's a big game this week for Love on Thanksgiving. Hopefully they have a turkey leg.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the run coordinator is Joe Barry, so that's going to be the battle. Because I think you're right. Their goal is going to be to take that away because they know that's what we're going to try to do. Could be wrong. Maybe Matt LaFleur's like, screw it, let's just let her rip. But I have a feeling this is going to be a ground and pound kind of a game, and the Packers are going to want to establish that early, and the Miami is going to try to take that away early. And maybe that's a reason to take some shots early in the game because if their primary thing right in the beginning is to load up the box, start throwing. Get them to back up. The problem with that is you start throwing incompletions. You go 3 and out, you punt. It's like, son of a gun. So that probably won't happen. And so we will have just a battle of wills early on, and you got to establish yourself. And don't let Joe Barry take that away from you. Oh, boy. Well, I tell you what, I will do 1 or 2 more, but Nico's got 3 calls, and we only have 5 calls left. So I'm just going to go ahead and end it right there. You guys have a great day. I will talk to you tomorrow, and we'll get started taking a look at the Miami Dolphins. We'll take a break. Why do I keep doing that? We're out. I'm leaving. Goodbye. See you forever.